Oh, wow, that's a lot of support. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I've spent the last several weeks thinking about what am I going to say? What am I going to say amongst my esteemed peers in this room? What's going to be impactful? What's going to be meaningful? What's going to be insightful? So over Victoria Day weekend, I sat down and I wrote down a few questions for myself. How did we get here? Where are we going? What does the future of payments in Canada look like? Why should we care? And that's what I hope to cover and share with you today as a payments professional, but probably more so as a Canadian. And I hope that everybody today kind of takes some of this and walks away and reflects on this and what can we contribute to Canada and to payments in Canada and success story here. I'm very passionate about payments. Anybody who knows me, I'm extremely passionate about payments. And the reason that I'm passionate about payments, it is the quintessential universal product. It is something that everybody in this room understands, that everybody in this country uses, and that everybody can relate to. And that's notwithstanding the fact that at every Thanksgiving dinner, my in-laws and my mom ask me, what do I do for a living? And I can't articulate it to save my life. We are the fluidity of Canada's economy. We are the blood in the circulatory system that makes the body work. It is a powerful and important thing. We heard about the last panel about fraud and the devastating effects that it can have. If anybody's ever had a late payroll or has been concerned about missing a bill, they understand the anxiety and the stress that causes, and that stress is profound. It is the fact that payments are so universal that excites me. So, what about Canada? We have the fortune of living in one of the most progressive, exciting, impactful payments countries in the world. One of the unique aspects of the Canadian psyche is our penchant for self-deprecation, our bias for politeness, humility, oftentimes looking for reasons why we are not, instead of looking for reasons why we are. We are a payments powerhouse, and we should not forget that. We have had e-transfers and ubiquitous P2P payments longer than some countries have had the majority of their payments electronified. We take P2P money movement in this country for granted. It's effectively free, it's ubiquitous, it is powerful. It is in the hands of every Canadian. We are not perfect, but we already provide near universal access to payments, financial services that is the envy of the rest of the world. To use a baseball analogy, Canada is a country born on third base, nearing home. Or to be a little bit more Canadian about it, our starting lineup is Gretzky, Crosby, and McDavid. Or for you Toronto Maple Leafs fans in the room, Matthews. McDavid. We've got a robust regulatory system, a stable political environment, a stable financial environment. We've got resilient infrastructure. We have brilliant and respected minds in the payment space. We have world-class financial institutions, world-class associations, world-class regulatories, and a vibrant fintech community. So Matt, if everything is so great, why are you up here talking about Canada at a crossroads? What are you talking about? Because to go back to my baseball analogy, we're in the bottom of the eighth. And despite being on third base, we are no longer putting up points on the board like we used to. Let me say that again. We are no longer putting up points on the board like we used to. One of the biggest downsides of the privilege of being in Canada and having such a robust payments ecosystem for the last 20 years is that incentive, that stimulus, that drive to change, the business case, the desire, it was not as strong, and it is not as strong. And it has been challenging for us to make as much progress as other jurisdictions have. We are the last of the G7 countries with a real-time settlement system. We are increasingly sidelined on G20 initiatives about cross-border payments. At Scotiabank, I have the privilege of spending a lot of time in Latin America. I get to spend time in Mexico. I get to spend time in Chile, in Brazil. And I see the innovation, and I see the change that is happening. For those of you who don't know, the United States and Mexico are collaborating on cross-border tokenization. Canada is not at the table. That is a big problem for our country, when we are not at the table with two of our most important trading partners in the largest free trade region in the world, and we are not at the table on payments topics. It's a sobering reality of the situation. We don't have a clear action plan for tackling systemic payments fraud, per discussion on the last panel. We don't have a clear plan on how we're going to tackle liability, how we're going to manage disputes and fraud and chargebacks in a world of account-to-account payments when real-time payments becomes a reality. We've certainly been working very hard on those things, but for a country blessed with all the privileges we have fallen behind. So what should the future look like? Should we look more like UPI in India or PIX in Brazil? No. And to be very candid with you, those comparisons drive me nuts, and that's no offense to the previous speaker around PIX. It is much, much easier to go from nothing to something than to go from something to something. And the something that Canada is starting with is world-class. So to go from a world-class something to the next is really hard. And that's important, and we need to make sure that we're comparing ourselves against the right things. But we do need to get on with the show. We have a collective responsibility, everybody in this room, as stewards of Canada's payment system to ensure that Canada remains a vibrant and attractive payments environment for decades to come. I don't want to be a future roadmap country for a fintech. We're coming soon. Wait and see. I want to be the first country when people are launching new products, they think Canada, because that's where innovation happens. So how do we get back on track? How do we do it? How do we get back to getting points on the board? 3 things. First of all, we need to operate like Team Canada. And we're seeing the beginnings of that in some of the engagement we're doing around real-time payments and the collaboration in the community that is rallying around getting to end of job. We need to do more of that. But we are often too quick to look at competition as coming from within our own backyard, too busy looking at each other's plates and worrying about whether or not we're getting our fair share, and worried and thinking that it's a zero-sum game, that if the other person wins, I lose. The reality is the competition is not happening within Canada. The competition is happening between Canada and the rest of the world and the global economies. We need to be thinking collectively about how we grow the pie for this country. Foreign direct investment and investment in innovation in the payment space is fundamentally driven by the attractiveness of our market infrastructure and how conducive that infrastructure is to supporting new innovation and new technologies. When a fintech or a global technology company thinks about where they're going to deploy their capex, their talent, their attention, the conduciveness of that payments infrastructure is what is a critical part of driving that decision. We need to play like Team Canada and ensure that we are a marquee destination for growth and innovation in payments. Second, we need to become a place where the answer is yes, not no. We need to move away from looking for reasons why not to do something, but looking for reasons why. And that is a cultural shift for us as a country. We are naturally conservative. We are quick at times to point out all the reasons why something can't be done instead of looking for solutions as to why we can make it possible. We need to take more risks. Risk-taking is often viewed as scary, something that we avoid instead of something that should be managed and pursued. And while criticism and feedback and risk management are important, they should not overshadow action. We need to back venture capital. We need to take risks. We need to fail fast. We need to celebrate the doers and the risk takers in this country as they are the ones who are going to lead to the next payments evolution. Third and last, we need to rigorously execute. Execution, execution, execution. We could do the first 2 things well, but if we fail to execute, we squander all of the goodwill if we do not get back to the business of delivery. That doesn't mean there's not going to be setbacks, but we need to create the winning conditions to minimize those setbacks. And when the setbacks occur, we need to get back on the horse and get back to execution. We need robust governance. We need to celebrate the doers. We need to celebrate expertise. We need to make transparent, timely, dispassionate and fact-based decision-making, and develop a steady and consistent pattern of delivery excellence. I'm optimistic. I look around this room and I see some of the smartest and most talented payments professionals in the world, full stop. There is no place like Canada for payments talents. There's no country that I would rather be part of for payments than Canada. This is our time as a country. Let's get back to putting points on the board. Thank you.